10 homeless people you won't believe exist. 1. Closet dweller. In 2008, a man from Japan began growing suspicious of something when food started mysteriously disappearing from his kitchen. Baffled at the alarming rate at which the food was going missing, he installed security cameras in his house that transmitted images to his mobile phone. One day, after he left for work, the camera captured someone moving around the house and using his stuff. He called the police, who searched around the house and found a 58-year-old homeless woman who had been hiding in his closet for several months. The woman had managed to get in when the house was unlocked one day and even took showers and slept on a mattress when he was at work. 2. Man in the barracks. In 2015, the 3rd Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, was in for a surprise. Apparently, a very smart homeless man had been squatting in their barracks for months. The man had obtained a forged military ID card and posed as a NOWD specialist. He previously stayed in the 82nd Airborne Division barracks and got himself reassigned to the 3rd Special Forces Group, gave himself a promotion, and even conducted room inspections. With his skills, he was able to convince even the top officers that he indeed belonged there, until finally, his colleagues grew suspicious and he came clean. 3. Homeless Joe. In 2015, Homeless Joe became a celebrity on the internet because of his unique way of survival. Joe was a homeless man in New York who had many women take him home every night to combat his homelessness. Every night, Joe resorted to drinking and picked up women, who would then take him home for the night. After he became famous for his eccentric lifestyle, he disappeared for a few years. Apparently, he has now moved on from that life and is practicing being clean in a sober house. 4. A guest in the office. In 2016, David Valmon began to hear strange rustling sounds on the upper floors of his house in Seattle. When he went to investigate, he found his office door locked from the inside. Not knowing what to expect, he kept knocking until a woman opened the door and said, "This is my house. I've been here for 3 days and Jimmy said I could live here." The man ran to call 911, but until the cops arrived, the woman had already left. Apparently, she was a homeless woman who had sneaked inside through the fire escape ladder that hung from his deck. 5. Squatter at AOL. Eric Simons is a man who managed to squat at the AOL headquarters in Palo Alto for 2 whole months. An aspiring entrepreneur, Eric had worked on a project at the company for 4 months but never left the premises. He had no money left to afford any accommodation in the area and desperately wanted to work on his startup idea. When he realized that his AOL badge still worked, he simply stayed on the campus, eating free food, enjoying gym access, and sleeping on the couches. One day, the security arrived early and noticed him dozing on a couch. By then, Eric had already built his startup. 6. Homeless on purpose. Shane Deso is a man who became homeless by his own choice. His only belongings were a few backpacks that held a laptop, a small toolkit, some electronics, a towel, a kettle, and food supplies. His other possessions included a sleeping bag and a down mat. He was a philosophy student at McGill and lived on the campus, using its facilities as different rooms of a house. He ate in student lounges, worked out in the library, and took a shower at the gym. 7. Homeless George. George Singleton is a 71-year-old man who lives at a camp in Yorkway and says he has been homeless for over 40 years by choice. George is a Native American academician who writes books on ancient Egypt, herbology, and veganism, and likes to live by what he calls extreme camping. Every day, he scoops scrap out of the Regent's Canal and helps keep it clean. George lives off-grid using 12-volt batteries at a base called Nature Guard Camp, and when he isn't collecting scrap material, he studies at the public library. 8. Man with Golden Voice. Ted Williams is a man from Columbus who became famous for his golden radio voice. While panhandling, Ted, then homeless, held a sign that said he had a God-given voice. One person recorded his voice to show the world, and indeed, everyone was astounded because the man simply had the perfect radio voice. The Columbia Dispatch published his video, and he became a sensation. Ted was showered with amazing job offers, appeared on talk shows, reunited with his mother, and even wrote a memoir. 9. The Homeless Billionaire. Nicholas Berggruen is a businessman who started out with a trust fund and boasts a net worth of $1.7 billion. Dubbed the Homeless Billionaire, Nicholas left his Manhattan home in 2000 and started living the life of a nomad. He lived in different hotels and became famous for throwing the most lavish parties. Although technically homeless, Nicholas lived quite a swanky life and became known to be very generous with his wealth. In 2020, he gave up his lifestyle and finally settled down in Los Angeles with his children. 10. Bjarne McCulloch. After being behind the bars for a while, Bjarne McCulloch became homeless as he had no family to go back to. This man from Florence, South Carolina, put a sign around his neck that read, "We'll sing for food." And so, Bjarne started serenading women and singing to passers-by, and it wasn't long before people noticed he had a great voice. Bjarne's cover of John Legend's All of Me surprised everyone and became famous on the internet. He now goes by the name No Cash and has garnered quite a lot of fame online.